June 2013, Washington. Newsrooms are publishing secret documents. Congress is demanding answers. And suddenly America realizes something huge has happened. And here is the main question. What made people so furious? The answer was terrifyingly simple. Mass surveillance. Not of one terrorist, not of one target, but a system that for years had been collecting the call data of millions of people while also gaining access to part of their internet communications through secret programs. That is exactly what the publications by The Guardian and The Washington Post began to reveal in June 2013. But to understand why this hit so hard, we need to rewind a little. In 2013, the President of the United States was Barack Obama. The intelligence community was overseen by Director of National Intelligence James Clapper. The NSA was led by General Keith Alexander. And it was under that exact structure of power that a large, closed system of digital surveillance was already operating. At the time, ordinary people imagined surveillance in a much simpler way, like someone sitting in a car, putting on headphones and listening to your conversation. But the reality was different. The first major piece was called Section 215. To put it very simply, under this framework, the government was collecting telephone metadata, not always the actual voice, but the data about the call. Who called whom, when, for how long, how often. And that was the main trap. Because even if you do not hear the conversation itself, you still see a lot. Who is close to whom, who is in constant contact with whom, what a person's circle looks like, and how that network expands outward. In official reviews, this system was explicitly described as the bulk collection of telephone metadata, and the analysis was built through contact chaining, chains of connections between people. But that was not where it ended. There was also a second line, even more alarming, Section 702. Put even more simply, it was a mechanism that allowed surveillance of foreign targets outside the United States. On paper, it was not about ordinary Americans. But in real digital life, messages, emails, and contacts overlap. So this system also touched communications connected to Americans. It was inside Section 702 that the world heard the name PRISM. PRISM is not some magic button that sees everything. To explain it properly, the government used specific selectors like an email address and required American internet companies to turn over data connected to that target, emails, files, messages, and other digital material. Alongside that, there was another channel called upstream, where part of internet traffic was collected at the level of the backbone communication lines. And that was when people started to understand the real scale of it. It no longer looked like a single wiretap. It looked like a machine. One part of the machine builds a map of your calls. Another gets access to digital communications under secret rules. Above it all, there is a closed court, complicated legal formulas, and the language of national security, where an ordinary person simply drowns. That is exactly why society saw what was happening so late, because the system did not look like violence. It looked like procedure, like bureaucracy, like supposedly normal protection of the country. And now, the most well-known part of this story. This entire mechanism started coming into public view through the documents passed on by Edward Snowden. On June 14, 2013, the U.S. Department of Justice charged him: theft of government property, unauthorized communication of national defense information, and willful communication of classified intelligence information under laws related to espionage. What happened next? Part of the system was eventually put under limits. In 2015, the USA Freedom Act banned bulk collection under Section 215, and the U.S. government officially stated that, as of November 29, 2015, it no longer had the legal authority to collect bulk telephony metadata under that framework. James Clapper later separately admitted that his earlier answer to Congress on this issue was clearly erroneous. But honestly, the hardest blow in the public side of this story did not land on the machine itself. It landed on the person who revealed it. And that may be the darkest part of the whole case. Because the main shock of 2013 was not that the government had intelligence services. People already understood that. The shock was something else. For the first time, people saw that modern surveillance is not a person in a dark room. It is infrastructure. It is a system. It is a digital mechanism that can operate for years in plain sight and still remain almost invisible. And when America finally saw it as a whole, the question was no longer, are they really watching? The question became far more terrifying. How long had this already been built?